All right, welcome everyone to my latest episode of Box News. I have a special guest. Do you want to say your name, or do you just want to say your gamer tag for everyone?
My gamer tag is Stinky Pompous.
All right, I'll put that on the screen now. So if you would like, you can add him. He'll choose whether or not to accept.
I've only got like 4 slots open, so
yeah. So today we're going to discuss the game that we played recently called Wolfenstein: The New Order. It was released on the Xbox 360, Xbox One, PS3, and PS4.
Yes.
No other platforms. No Wii U release.
No Wii U release. And I don't believe PC either.
No PC. That's a bummer because that's kind of the stable. That's the big PC title from back in the day.
I think it would have been rather good on PC from what I've seen.
Right.
Maybe a little better than console.
Right. So that's kind of funny. You know, one of the greatest PC games of all time, right? Wolfenstein.
Was not reissued on PC.
So that's really strange. Let's get kind of started on the background of the story. Tell me, like, who are you in the game, and what is this new take on Wolfenstein? Is it a brand new story? Is it relevant to the old one? What's going on in this game?
The old one was a little more, as I'm sure everybody knows, it was grainy. It was that, 16-bit put-together Germans. They would, it was just the old style of playing. There wasn't really a huge story behind it, but you were still B.J. Blazkowicz, and you were an agent who would go in for the U.S. government, CIA, I think it was, and you would infiltrate the Germans and then kill Hitler was the whole goal.
Okay.
In the new one, it's a little bit different because there's more of a background to it. You have more of a background on his life. You actually sit through 14 years in an insane asylum while being taken care of, and it's just an interesting story. The gameplay is much more evolved, in my opinion. I still prefer the original one just because it's the original. The gameplay is classic, I should say.
Right.
Which is where they brought it in, and we'll talk about that later in the Nightmare, which I still think is cool that they kept that. Easily one of my favorite things.
So I played the game, the original PC release back in the day. I didn't know that was the same character, so that's rather cool. But I guess when I played it, I was very young. I haven't played it recently, and I don't remember a lot from the game. I mean, the throwback stage, what you mentioned, the Nightmare mode, which is the kind of little bonus for hardcore fans. Mm-hmm. I thought that was really cool, and it brought me back to being a kid and playing, a shooter, much like the Doom era, the Wolfenstein. Because that's what I grew up on. Which is funny because the bonus in this game, if you purchased it, you got the Doom beta code. I guess they're making a new Doom.
Yeah, they are.
That'll be a
story. That releases in like a month here, I think.
Okay, so the beta is launching.
Yeah.
So, we got tap dancers.
Yeah. No doubt.
So yeah, I thought that was really cool. So, I guess give me a breakdown on your thoughts as you played through the game. Your emotions. Like, did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Why did you enjoy it? Why did you hate it? Like, what was the best part of the game?
I did enjoy the game for the first probably hour and a half that I played it, up until right after I get out of the insane asylum.
Okay.
I really liked, one of my favorite things besides the Nightmare was the fact that they had 2 generations of weapons in the games. I thought that was really something that not a lot of games do, where they split it up into 2 different generations that act very different from each other.
Right.
One of the things that I thought was really cool that they did was you can dual wield anything in the entire game. Dual wield knives, dual wield submachine guns, everything, even shotguns, which was awesome.
That was truly awesome.
And they're accurate. I mean, it's not like you're spraying everywhere. It was pretty dead on. But I thought the storyline was more enveloped than a lot of other games that I've played recently. Granted, it's not the most entertaining storyline, but me being a history buff, I kind of like the idea of playing as a person after the Nazis won the war,
right?
And still continuing on, right? An alternate history. I thought that was really interesting. As far as not playing in 1946 very long, I mean, you crash the plane, you infiltrate the castle, and then you run into Dr. Death's Head.
Right. They kind of give you an origin story, a tutorial almost.
Right. It was a prologue basically to the game. It was a long prologue. I mean, 45 minutes of game time before you actually get into the insane asylum and then coming out of that.
Right.
I like Dr. Death's Head. That was interesting. I think the target still should have been Hitler, though.
Right.
I think it was I think they should come out with another one.
Or an expansion.
That would be a good one, like they did with Sniper Elites, the Desert Fox thing. Still hunting down Rommel.
Right.
But I think they should continue on with Hitler.
I think they kind of left that open for that reason.
I think they did too.
I mean, with gaming today, it's a cash cow to make DLC, and it's funny that you have day one DLC with some games, because why was that not bundled with a game then? It's their way of making money. So I could see Hitler as being an add-on, or depending on sales, a sequel.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think.
Well,
I don't think they could justify a sequel.
Without spoilers, I'm sure you guys could figure that out now, what we're implying here. We're not going to say it, so you don't hate us, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I guess, what did you dislike then out of this game?
I disliked the fact that there was no online.
Right.
Absolutely hated that, because I pre-ordered that game thinking, hey, there's going to be an awesome online, there's going to be Nazi robots and all this fun stuff that you can mess around with. It'll be almost like a Nazi version of Titanfall.
Right, which would have been phenomenal.
Which would have been a great thing to do for the game, instead of just having two different campaigns. Which brings me to hating the fact that they didn't differ the two different timelines from each other.
Right, I was just going to say, there weren't really two different campaigns. There was two different choices.
Right, two different timelines for campaigns, exact same campaign almost, just a different ending cutscene.
Yeah, a couple different cutscenes throughout the game. That was it.
That was pretty much the determining factor. I ended up killing the American guy first, just because I liked the Scottish dude.
Right, which, it's so funny. Like, I can't even recall who I killed now. I was so out of it at that time. I'm just like, meh.
It didn't catch my interest at that point. It was like, oh, I'll kill this guy. It doesn't really matter.
Right. So, I killed the one on the right, which, whatever that one was. I think
that was the Scottish dude.
Was it?
Might have been the American dude.
I don't know. I killed one of them, and like you said, it doesn't really affect the game much, and I was just kind of like, oh, I'll play through this again. All right. So the things that I guess I didn't like about the game now were the headquarters parts. There's points in the game where you would progress, have all these awesome shooting elements, these awesome levels to shoot your way through, but then you would reach a lull in the game, which was the headquarters, which were search missions, kind of like...
finding the toys, or...
Right.
God, what was one of the other ones? Finding something for Jimmy.
Saw.
Yeah.
And it really took me out of the game. I don't know if this was that way for everyone. I'm sure some people liked this. It was kind of like, hey, let's add some RPG elements to it and see what we can do with this game. But for me, Wolfenstein is a shooter. It should be a straight-up action game. I know what I'm getting. It's kind of like Duke Nukem. You know what you're getting. A shooter doesn't take itself seriously, but Wolfenstein obviously does.
And at least in Duke Nukem Forever, it was a straight-up shooter.
Right. You had random things, but that was Duke Nukem in its class.
Yeah.
Or its core, I should say. So for me, that took it out of the game. There were points that it could take 5 minutes and, up to 20 minutes to do these chores, how I feel. That was really what took me out of the game most. Other than I enjoyed the game, it was a decent story. The cinematics were pretty good.
Yeah, they were pretty good. I like some of the cutscenes that they had in there, especially with Dr. Death's Head.
Right. Now, for you, I guess, what would you have liked to have seen out of this game? Like, what were you disappointed in?
One of the things that I noticed in the headquarters was when I walked upstairs, just past the knife throwing, when you walk into the tool shed, if you kept going past that and turned left, across from the bed where you get into the nightmare mode, which for some of you may not know, it's where they take you back to the original graphics, and then you can play the original game style for probably 5-10 minutes maybe.
Just that first level of the game.
Just the first level of the game. But across from that, there was a vent, and you can, with your laser cutter, you cut the chains in the game. Well, that vent had a chain sticking down from it, so instantly I recognized it as, this compound is going to be invaded. I'll probably need to use that as an escape route, and which is exactly what ended up happening.
Yeah,
so that
I
was
noticed that too, and I was like, why can't I use my weapons that I just had in here?
Right,
and
exactly.
Then you were able to throughout the game. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert for everybody
on the screen
who hasn't played it. That just really set it off for me. I was like, well, they really didn't care too much, it seemed like, about the ending or a surprise in the game.
Well, I mean, for us, we noticed it, but is everyone going to notice it, I wonder?
That's true. That's a good point. Some people may think that it's just something hidden down there and you can only discover it later.
Right.
But I guess for me it was just an assuming pointer.
Right. I just thought it was an unlockable area or some hidden achievement.
Right.
Which brings me to the next part. Let's talk about achievements for a minute. If you guys know me at all, you know I'm an achievement junkie. I have just reached 109,000 gamer score with Wolfenstein now. And this game really rewards you if you do the things required to do in it.
Yes.
Just by completing missions, you get achievement score. By making the decision you get one or the other. Second playthrough would grant you the other.
Which is why they kind of offer that second storyline, so you can
Right.
go back and make the other decision, which was okay, I guess. But you
Right.
don't realize it until later if you don't look at it first like you do the achievements. Just go on
Right,
and say, hey, I
that's-
can get
yeah.
these.
That's what I look for first. And then the other thing was the difficulty, obviously, when you played on Uber. You get
More
the achievements for that.
achievements,
And the rest of the achievements were, as I had mentioned, just by doing things, the perks. So kill 2 enemies with a single grenade. That's an achievement.
That's one. Kill 15 enemies while sliding.
Another
with
achievement.
any gun.
Right.
Get, like 30 dual wield kills or
Headshots.
yeah.
And they were pretty simple. For the most part, I'd say I got 60 to 75% of those, leaving me with 500 something or 600 something and up 1,000 gamer score in the game, which a single playthrough was pretty good, I'd say.
Yeah, that's pretty solid.
Right. A second playthrough would obviously grant you the rest of the achievements easily.
Absolutely. If you paid attention to it and were saying, hey, I need to do this.
And that's the thing. I mean, check it out. It's in your menu, too. It tells you exactly what to do when you hit the back button.
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess which brings us to a final critique of the game. First off, would you recommend it to someone?
Yes, if they were looking for a decent shooter for a couple hours. I mean, if you're buying it from a company like GameStop, they have their 7-day return policy.
Right.
I would say check it out from there. Don't buy it new. I don't think it's worth the $60 unless you're a huge Wolfenstein fan.
There you go. Buy it used so you're not stuck with it.
Exactly. I would recommend it. The only thing that I would say about it is watch reviews on it first, because there's things that you will miss if you play it through without doing some research on it.
Right.
And there's things that you may want to get in that game. There's plentiful ammo in that game, so don't worry about expending it. It's very easy to go through it. Very easy to find
I
it.
think I ran out of ammo once in a couple of my guns, and that was it. But then I just switched guns and it was
Demolished
fun.
the rest
It
of
gave
it,
me a chance to use the other guns.
Right.
Until I found that other ammo. I was never completely out and worried.
Definitely.
So my reviews are on an out of 10. How would you give this out of 10?
6.5.
6.5 out of 10. You heard it. I would say a 6 or 7. I'll probably go with I'm going to go with yours, 6.5.
Yeah.
Just a solid, yeah.
Because it's a decent playthrough, just not something that I would liked to have had in my collection. Unfortunately, I ended up buying it new.
Right.
But I own it.
Right. It's not glitchy. It's not broken. It works. There's just not a lot of content to the game.
Right.
It's one of those single playthroughs. You get your fix and then you're done.
Right.
So it's a renter or
definitely.
pre-owner. Don't buy. So you heard it from us. For more reviews, definitely subscribe to my page. Tell your friends. Click that little button. Like this if you see us on Facebook. I mean, you know how social media works. So just follow us today and tell your friends. Hope you enjoyed this audio review. Thanks for joining us.